So 17 stone, 13 pounds. That's where I am right now. That's where I'm starting. I think I've got around 8 weeks to lose around 2 stone to be ready for a race that I've got in Snowdonia at the start of July. It's 57 kilometres, over 2,000 metres of climbing, and this is week 1. So before I let you know what I'm doing about it, how did we get here? How did I go from mid-pack running at UTS 100 to nearly 18 stone and wondering how on earth am I going to get round my next ultra? It wasn't about just being lazy and eating too much, but I'll delve into some of the details. So probably nearly about 2 years ago, I was in the best shape of my life. As I said, I'd done UTS 100. I was super pleased to have finished that, finished mid-pack, and everything was going great. And then I got injured. I had a really bad sprain on my ankle, ruptured my ATFL, and put a 50% rupture on the tendon on the other side. And it's taken me a long time to get over that injury, and really I'm just starting to ramp the training back up again. One of the things that has really hit me though is to do races like UTS 100. I was doing a lot of training to do the Dragon's Back race. Is you're constantly working on being able to take in as much carbohydrate as you possibly can. Can you hit 100 grams an hour? Can you do a 90 gram gel in one hit? And then suddenly when you're injured, you've trained yourself for so long to eat that much carbohydrate, it's very difficult to suddenly stop having that much carbohydrate, and that has meant that the pounds have piled on in that time. So there's very little advice on the internet about how do you go from training yourself with such high levels of carbs with a very high level activity to sort of going cold turkey and sort of you become injured. How do you ramp that down? And I've struggled with my weight in the past. It's a constant thing I need to focus on, and that was something I just wasn't prepared for. So the result was, in that time that I've been injured, I put nearly 4 stone of weight back on, and now I really need to do something about it. And yes, we could have all said, I should have realised this sooner, I should have done something about it earlier, and I agree. But when you're injured, you're forever the optimist, thinking, oh, you'll be back on it the next week, you'll be back on it the week after. And weeks turn into months, and in my case, months have turned into over 18 months. So things just dragged on, and now as a deadline approaches, it's time to do something about it. So my training's still not back up to the full level, but it's getting there. I'm running sort of 4 or 5 times a week, with the longer run increasing, a couple of short runs and a few bike sessions. So we're starting to come back online and trying to ramp up the volume until we get to this first ultra. So why does this 2 stone actually matter to me? I'm pretty strong. I've got very strong legs, and the matter of the fact is, looks, I don't want to look a super skinny person. I'm not too interested in that. For me, it's more performance based, wanting to get the best out of myself. And particularly with going in the hills, weight is a very significant factor. So this event has 2,000 metres of climbing, it's 57 kilometres, and that's a long way to carry that extra weight. Now, I'm not saying when I'm just under 16 stone that's going to be the perfect weight for me. It won't be. When I was performing well, I was about 14. So I know I'm not going to get that far, but it's how far can I actually get? If I can lose 2 stone, that's 28 pounds over a 57 kilometre course. That's going to have a big effect. So I've had a lot of weight loss before. So let me tell you about week 1 and what my approach is going to be. And I want to be clear, this isn't going to be a crash diet. We all know we have to fuel our workouts and our training, otherwise we increase the risks of being injured, and I don't want to do that. I want to still try and get the most out of the workouts that I can. What I find for myself is that eating and meals is truly about habit. So what I'm trying to do is reduce my decision fatigue. I'm going to make it as simple as possible and try and keep to the more or less the same meals every day so I can build that habit and move forward. Breakfast, You know, with all the running around in the morning, starting work, getting the kids ready for school, I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm going to just go for black Huel. It's got about 400 calories. It's high in protein, and you know, I know from the past that it sets me up pretty well for the day. Breakfast done. Lunch. Okay, so this is going to be my lowest quality meal of the day. It's something I've done ever since I was a kid, but it'll probably be just something simple like a tin of beans and sausage, put in the microwave for 3 minutes, a quick break from work, have some dinner and start again. So not the best in terms of food quality, but there's a bit of fibre in there, a bit of protein. So, and what I have done is cut out any bread and butter that I would normally have and just focus on that. So quick lunch, not the best quality, but you know, some sacrifices made there. And then we come to tea or dinner. I normally have this pretty late, you know, after I've picked the kids up from school, finished work, and then I've done a training session. You know, it can be 8, 9 o'clock, 9:30 before I get around to that. I know later than ideal, but that's just the way life works. And what I've done in the past and what I'm trying to do now is have some tofu, stir fry it with a stir fry sauce, and then with mushrooms, onions, peppers, and then either with a bag of steamed vegetables or some steamed vegetable rice, and that'll be it. You know, I quite like the bags of the rice. It forces portion control, so you can't go mental. You know, I find if I'm cooking my own rice, I tend to go a bit overboard, and you know, it's a pretty good dinner, fairly low in fat. You've got your vegetables in there for the nutrition, and yeah, that's probably my most involved meal of the day, but still, you know, very straightforward, can be cooked within 10 minutes. So I want to make one thing clear: I don't want my training to suffer, so I do want to fuel every training session that I do, especially the longer ones. So for that, I make sure I do have some sports nutrition for 2 reasons. One, it's useful to train your gut to actually use the sports nutrition, and 2, to fuel the activity, whether it be a bike or a run, properly. If it's a 30-minute recovery run, probably won't bother, but if it's a longer run, 90 minutes, an hour, yes, I'll take a gel or a bar with me, and I'll also make sure that I have a recovery drink afterwards. I will also, if I feel my energy levels dropping when I'm doing a run, or I'm thinking I'm going to bonk, yeah, I'll have another gel. If it means that in an hour I've had 90 grams or maybe a bit more of carbohydrate, that's fine. You know, performing on the activity is a top priority there. It's trying to cut out everything else and be as clean as possible outside that training session. So this leads to the question, can I do it? To be honest, 2 stone in 8 weeks, it's a really big ask, and I don't know, but it's something that is a goal. I'm going to work really hard to try it. What I usually find is weeks 1 and 2 really difficult while you sort of build into the habit, and then after that, hopefully once the habit's formed, it'll get a bit easier. Also, week 1 you can find you have a large weight loss, and then it becomes more difficult in terms of the weight loss after that. It's worth achieving. It's something I've got to do. If I don't focus on it, I won't get any further forward. So that's the goal. Let's push on and see where we get to. This equates to 3.5 pounds a week. That's pretty massive. It's a big calorie deficit, so I will have to be careful. But also I know for every pound that I am less, it's going to have a huge effect on the ultra in July. So, you know, 100% focus. So the starting weight, 17 stone 13 pounds. The goal weight, 15 stone 13 pounds. 8 weeks. This is week 1. Let's see how we get on. I'll be back next week. We'll see how I got on with week 1. What's gone well, what hasn't gone well, and see what adjustments we need to make. If you're on a similar journey or have some tight deadlines that you also have to match, you know, please let me know. Put something in the comments below and let's see if there's any tips that we can get from each other. I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be easy. I'll share with you both the positives and when things are pretty tough. To follow along, please hit that subscribe button and I'll see you all next week.